Good day, everyone. It's Lee Henson, president and founder of Agile, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand Up. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Today, I wanted to talk to you about something that a listener pointed out to me, and I thought it was very interesting. She pointed out that many product owners are making the same mistakes over and over and over and over. So she asked me, she says, "Would you do me a favor?" She says, "Will you please do a podcast episode that just outlines the top 5 things that product owners are doing wrong on a daily basis?" Now, I promised I would, so this one's for you. But but it's one of these things where when I sat down and thought about it, she had a very good point and she was spot on. There are some certain things that I see that are quite repetitive. So I want to point out what I see are the top 5 things that product owners could do to improve every single day. And I'm going to start with the most obvious one. The most obvious one is when a product owner just doesn't have time for the team. So let me explain. I recently had a presentation, or not a presentation, but a workshop that I did with a lot of product owners. There were tons of them there. And we sat down and we started evaluating what a product owner does for 8 hours a day. And I think that was my question because I wanted to kind of see how well they did at time management. So I asked each of them to take out a sticky note or a couple of sticky notes. And I wanted them to try to write down everything that they did for 8 hours and allocate time to each of the different things that they did. The majority of product owners wound up putting down that they spent 4 to 6 hours in meetings, and that blew me away. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, if a product owner is really spending that much time in meetings, how on earth did they have time for the team? So I asked and challenged the product owners to now take that list of 4 to 6 hours and break it down and show me which meetings they go to or pull out their calendars and jot them down. And lo and behold, between stakeholder meetings, client meetings, leadership meetings, cross product ownership meetings, team meetings, reviews, and planning meetings, these guys and gals did have upwards of 4 to 5 hours every single day of just solid meetings with no time for the team. So I thought to myself, there has to be some kind of threshold that I can throw out there that will help product owners understand, where they've crossed the line. Now, while I believe the product owner should be available to the team as much as possible all the time, if they are having less than 50% of their time available, that means that they're starting to creep into doing the job of other people, or that they have too much work in progress, right? If you have too many different items flying around at the same time, it's going to be hard for you to get your head around all those and be engaged with the team. So I think it's important that we follow up and say, hey, are we spending the right amount of time or allocating the right amount of time for the team? Now, likewise, I don't want the product owner to just say, okay, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 11, because maybe the team doesn't need you between 9 and 11, and maybe it's not on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I think the misnomer or the confusion here becomes the product owner needs to learn how to balance time management so that they can set aside time for the team when the team needs it and still have an allocated amount of time or enough time to do all the other things they need to do as a product owner. And this circles us back to the concept of POBAFATA, product owner, business analyst, functional analyst, and technical analyst working together, where the analysts provide information to the product owner so that the product owner can make great decisions. We need to remember in the Agile Manifesto, it says individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Don't let the meeting processes just bog you down and make you not have time available to do what you should be doing. And that is spending time with the team to make people happy. Next on my list, the product owner daily is a people pleaser. It doesn't matter what the people ask for. The product owner doesn't want to focus on what the value is that the people are requesting. What value is whatever is being requested to bring to the business or to the team or to the end stakeholders. Instead, they want to just make people happy and say, yeah, we can get that in. And when people are becoming a people pleaser, what winds up happening is certain things start slipping away. So the way you can identify this, or the way you know this is happening, is when a team feels like they have no direction, or there's no purpose for what they're doing, or we're focused so much on delivering the features that we forget about it adding any value. We're not focused on the value. We're just focused on, hey, did you get that feature done? When you start seeing focus diminish, you start seeing teams become demotivated, you start seeing things crumble. That's probably a good sign that your product owner has fallen into the realm of I'm going to do what's best for others and I don't care what's going on, right? Here's another one that happens every single day. So I hope you're getting this list. The next one is interruptions. When you start seeing a product owner come in with frequent interruptions in the form of, hey, we need to have another meeting to discuss this. Let me tell you, product owners are the kings and queens of meetings. And sometimes they say we spend so much time in meetings, but then here's the funny part. The irony is that when I ask them how many of those meetings were created by them, sometimes upwards of 70% of the meetings are created by them that they're sitting in. Therefore, you can't create meetings and then complain about the meetings. You have to figure out a way to have an optimized set of meetings that cover the things that you need to do. Another one of those interruptions that happens to the team all the time is when a product owner is frequently introducing new features. Now, confession, as a product owner, I have introduced new features. I've done it. The deal is, I don't introduce it as all or nothing has to be done right now. And I don't know that we have to interrupt or break a sprint goal to get something done. New features have a special way of being integrated that you can do this without interrupting flow. No matter how cool and whiz bang or cutting edge or how desperately needed the feature is, it must be done in such a way that it doesn't interrupt the team by just causing this breakage in their flow of what they're trying to do. And finally, with regard to interruptions, the other one that comes to mind is bug fixes. Now, I always say when I teach teams and I coach teams, I always tell them that they need to categorize their bugs. The goal should be to diminish and reduce and to focus on getting work done right the first time. Because, well, if we get things done right the first time, then we don't end up in a situation. But when we do have outstanding defects or bugs or things that are happening, we need to have a way to categorize these as this one's so important we need to kill everything and jump on it now. This one's important, but it can be queued up and be the first item we work on next sprint. Or this one, it's good somebody brought it to our attention so we can make sure we get it updated before our next release of the product, but it's not something that we're going to let interrupt us now. And I think that, there are countless other interruption type things that I could point out, but those are the three primary ones that come to mind when I think about interruptions. Okay. So another one has to do with the product owner taking over meetings. And when I say taking over meetings, do you find that your product owner is trying to turn things like, I don't know, sprint planning or the daily stand up into a status report where they want every person to give a status on what they're working on? Or is the product owner, trying to, how shall I say it, manage the team? Are they becoming the team's manager and they're taking on the responsibility of a project manager instead of a product owner? I see that one quite a bit. Uh, or, if the product owner has set a discipline or a doctrine that says that the daily stand up cannot begin until I arrive and they're frequently late or whatever the case may be, you end up with a product owner who hijacks the meeting and tries to turn it into yet another planning meeting. Or you end up with a product owner that speaks for the entire 15 minutes and no one gets to talk about what's important to them. Once again, just another one of those things where product owners can make these behavioral changes daily, and it'll really help them gain, a large set of traction with their people. So let's review one more time just to make sure we got all of them. So we started off with the product owner who was very much into not having time. They just didn't have time for anything, much less the team. We talked about the product owner who spends all their time pleasing the people and what that causes. We talked about the product owner who always allows interruptions or doesn't plan appropriately with regard to interruptions. And we talked about the product owner who is hijacking meetings and causing things to go awry that way. I think if I had to identify one final one, it's the product owner that, and this one's surprising, the product owner that doesn't care. The product owner is so overwhelmed and so busy that they've distanced themselves from everything, but not because they're busy in meetings, but because I don't even want to say it, given up hope. They feel so betrayed by having so many things in flight and so many things going on that they can't give everything the love and attention it deserves. So they think to themselves, why bother? And that's a bad place to be in as a product owner, And I think the message that I'm trying to send here is that while these are all common mistakes that product owners make every day, what I can tell you is that it's not because the product owner doesn't try or doesn't want to do better. In fact, what I'm trying to point out is that the product owner job is one of the most difficult jobs in the entire Agile framework. And I think that if they don't have a good supporting cast and a group of people around them to really uplift them and help them get this job done, that you'll quickly see that this is one of the linchpins or the key pin that holds everything together, right? It's the cornerstone, it's the keystone that holds everything together and makes everything work. So, my advice for you, rally around a product owner, help uplift them, help them to do their job better. And I promise if you do, that you won't regret it. It's going to bring great things to your future with regard to your agile implementation. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.